Welcome to another episode of the MemcycoFM show. Today, we are undertaking a deep dive into what is, well, arguably the most insidious challenge facing digital enterprises right now, digital impersonation fraud, and specifically its role as the primary engine for massive account takeover or ATO attacks. Our mission here is clear. We want to move beyond the usual fear-mongering and provide you with a proactive, solutions-focused roadmap. This is really about giving CSOs the tools to combat credential harvesting, not after it's happened, but long before it ever becomes a breach.
And the need for this shift has never been greater. I mean, if you look at the supply chain of fraud, the sheer scalability of modern attacks is, frankly, terrifying. We're talking about automated phishing kits, new AI-driven site generators that can spin up a perfect functional clone of your entire login portal in, what, minutes?
In minutes.
Yeah.
It just dramatically shrinks that window between an attacker registering a domain and actually harvesting credentials. So your traditional security models, the ones that rely on post-attack response, they're just obsolete. Prevention now has to be about detection at the earliest possible stage.
Absolutely. And that brings us right to our core focus today, website cloning detection. This isn't just a niche activity you file under brand protection anymore. Based on everything we're seeing, this has rapidly evolved into a critical frontline layer of modern ATO prevention. It operates where most security tools, well, they just lack visibility.
It's the linchpin. It really is.
Yeah.
If you follow the ATO kill chain backward, cloning is the fundamental attack vector.
Yeah.
If they can't harvest credentials, they can't perform the takeover. Simple as that.
Okay, so let's start by setting the scale, because the magnitude of the problem is truly staggering. We looked at the FBI's 2024 Internet Crime Report data, and, well, reported internet crime losses hit a record high of $16.6 billion.
Billion, with a B.
Exactly. And that's not just a big number. That figure has shown consistent, relentless growth year after year. And the most common complaint types fueling it are still phishing and spoofing.
That's the key context right there. When you drill down into where that money goes, a massive percentage is directly tied to the supply chain that cloning enables. Cloned websites are the dedicated tools used to harvest everything. Usernames, passwords, MFA tokens, you name it. All of that data is then immediately funneled into automated attacks or sold on underground markets. So stopping that initial harvest is the only way you can really impact that $16.6 billion figure.
And what really sets these modern attacks apart is the technical sophistication, isn't it? We are so far past the days of obvious, badly translated phishing sites.
Oh, miles past it.
Today's attackers are replicating entire customer portals, complex login flows, payment screens, all with pixel-perfect fidelity. This is instant, disposable fraud infrastructure. And the data they're stealing has evolved too. We're not just losing usernames and passwords.
No, not at all. They're capturing active session cookies, they're intercepting OTP codes in real time, and in some cases, they're even capturing biometric prompts or device fingerprints that let them take over accounts on totally different platforms.
Wow. So one successful clone could compromise a user across their entire digital life.
Exactly. Their banking, email, social media, everything. For CISOs, this hyper-realism means you just can't rely on your users being able to spot the fake anymore. You have to rely on technology. You need to be watching for those subtle indicators. Identical layouts on strange domains, lookalike URLs, sudden spikes in low reputation referral traffic, that sort of thing.
Okay, so if that defines the threat, let's pivot to the strategic countermeasure. What is website cloning detection when we look at it as a proactive defense mechanism?
It's the process of identifying and flagging fraudulent copies of your digital assets before they can do any damage. And this is where we need to draw a really sharp contrast with traditional solutions. If your defense is at the login page, so you're reacting to weird behavior, impossible travel, failed logins, the credential has already been stolen.
The damage is done.
The damage is done.
Yeah.
The primary goal of proactive detection is to extend your visibility, to shift that defense line all the way out to the pre-login stage. We're talking about detecting the fraud when the user hasn't even seen the phishing site yet.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting, the mechanism that makes this possible. You mentioned moving away from just relying on external threat feeds or crawlers, which are always late to the party. You spoke about using browser-level signals triggered from the legitimate site. Can you unpack that for us? What are these signals?
That's a critical question because this is where the intelligence lies. We aren't scraping the dark web. We are instrumenting the genuine web property itself. See, the moment an attacker tries to clone your site, they have to load your legitimate assets, your code, your images, your scripts. Proactive solutions use proprietary intelligence that's injected into the legitimate site. And it monitors how those assets are being used by the user agent, the browser. These signals include things like analyzing anomalies in the DOM structure, checking for unusual resource loading, or fingerprinting the environment where your code is running.
So if your own code suddenly realizes, hang on, I'm being loaded from a domain registered yesterday in a country I don't recognize, it can raise an immediate flag.
Precisely. It's like your legitimate site develops its own sensory perception. It can tell the difference between a real user loading a page and a malicious scraping bot. And that capability is essential because cloning often begins not with a full attack, but with subtle reconnaissance behavior.
That's fascinating. Tell us more about that reconnaissance.
It's the attacker's prep phase. It can start days, even a week, before the site goes live. We often see them inspecting site code with developer tools, scraping brand assets, probing APIs to see how things work. Detecting these internal signals, this early recon, allows security teams to anticipate a spoofing attempt and turn that initial probing into an early intervention. You stop the prep work, you stop the crime before it's even organized.
That architectural shift makes a lot of sense, but I have to play devil's advocate here. For a CISO who's worried about performance and user experience, isn't there a risk of, slowing things down or getting false positives?
A very valid concern. And it goes back to the difference between clumsy external monitoring and high-fidelity internal telemetry. The system has to be engineered to be virtually invisible to the end user. The signals are extremely lightweight, asynchronous, and more importantly, the system correlates multiple low-confidence signals to generate a single high-confidence alert. So one strange API call might not trigger anything, but that call, plus a non-standard environment fingerprint and a known, newly registered domain, that's verified, actionable intelligence.
Ah, I see. So it reduces the noise.
It dramatically reduces false positives.
Okay, that's a strong defense of the mechanism. Now, let's talk about the limitations of the conventional countermeasures, things like domain takedowns or just relying on external threat feeds. We've established they're reactive.
And their reactivity is their critical failure point. Reactive measures only find phishing sites after they are live and actively harvesting credentials. They rely on slow processes user reports, which are sporadic, or third-party crawlers, which always have a lag. But the biggest failing is what we call the critical window.
The critical window.
Yeah. Imagine a malicious domain goes live at 8 a.m. Your team finds it at 10 a.m. You start the takedown process instantly. But it often takes 12, 24, even 48 hours for the provider to comply. In that window, thousands of victims may have already logged in. The takedown is necessary, but it protects no one in that gap.
So what does this proactive solution mean for a CISO trying to close that high-risk ATO gap?
It closes that window completely. By immediately flagging active impersonation attempts the moment the clone is detected, you transform defense from a slow administrative process into a live countermeasure.
And it goes beyond just alerting, right? You mentioned coupling detection with disruption tactics. How do you turn that visibility into active containment?
Visibility is step one, action is step two. If you know a specific phishing site is live, you can engage disruption tactics. One of the most effective is decoy credential injection. This involves feeding synthetic, non-functional credentials into the clone site's database. So when the attacker's tools try to use those decoys on your legitimate platform, they are immediately flagged, isolated, and blocked. It neutralizes their entire harvested list.
So you poison their data well. What about fighting back on the visibility front, like with SEO poisoning defense?
Exactly. SEO poisoning defense is about controlling the narrative where the victim is most likely to find the fake site in a search engine. Attackers use SEO to push their malicious domains to the top of search results. Proactive solutions fight back by actively flooding search results with legitimate content or decoy links, diluting the visibility of the malicious site. It makes it much harder for customers to accidentally find the scam.
That is a powerful shift. You go from just playing whack-a-mole with domains to actively disrupting the entire fraud supply chain. Now, let's unlock practical benefits, because this isn't just a win for the security team, right? It touches fraud, digital operations.
Absolutely. Let's start with the SOC teams. Their job is high-volume triage. With this, they get continuous, verified telemetry on active cloning attempts. This is high-fidelity, pre-login threat data. It feeds directly into their SIEM tools, enabling much faster triage and correlation. It just cuts down their response time dramatically.
And what about the fraud teams? They're usually dealing with the painful aftermath.
For them, this changes everything. Traditionally, they only see the fraud after a transaction has happened. With this visibility, they can see precisely which customers were exposed to a clone site in real time, so they can act preemptively, They can flag or block the affected accounts before any fraudulent login even happens. Instead of handling a $10,000 fraud claim, they prevent the loss entirely.
That's a clear ROI case right there. Finally, let's look at the digital business teams, the product owners, the marketing managers.
They are major beneficiaries. This protects the integrity of the customer experience. Imagine a customer tries to buy something, lands on a perfect clone, gets an error, and abandons the purchase thinking your site is broken. By identifying those cloned sites in real time, you prevent customer misdirection, you protect your conversion funnel, and you reduce the huge reputational damage that comes from this. It's about protecting brand value and revenue.
When you connect all those benefits, reducing SOC load, preventing fraud losses, protecting the customer experience, it really shows that website cloning detection is, well, it's a foundational piece of digital defense.
It fundamentally bridges that historical gap. Brand protection used to be a marketing cost. Now, by integrating it with ATO prevention, organizations can achieve true pre-login visibility. They stop account takeovers before they even start. It's a unified, proactive motion.
That brings us to our final provocative thought for you to chew on. In a world defined by scalable, AI-driven cloning, how quickly can your current security posture move its defense line? Can you move it from the login screen all the way back to the digital reconnaissance stage, where the crime is still just an idea in the attacker's mind? If you're ready to see how a proactive approach can provide this pre-login visibility for your teams, we encourage you to book a demo to see the solution in action.
We appreciate you joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.